Welcome to Game Crunch Game of the Year 2024 with Brandon.
I would have broken them if I would have remembered to write this one.
With Nick.
Yeah, it was a really weird time.
And Mike.
I think it's not realistic for them to compete.
There are many great games, but there can only be one. There can only be one Game of the Year. Welcome to Game Crunch, Game of the Year 2024. My name is Mike Anastasia. With me today, we have Brandon.
Hello.
And Nick.
Hello.
And we are here to talk about the, highs and lows of the last year of gaming.
Yeah.
I'm here to be a tiebreaker.
So the way we operate this, if you've not listened to Game of the Year before, we have different categories. We put up a bunch of nominees. For the regular categories, we whittle it down to top 3 with one overall winner and 2 runners-up. So that's where it is. And I think with these topics, generally, I think we just go with majority rules on placement. So, yeah, there it is. You guys ready to get into it?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So, our first category of the evening, Best New Series Entry. So this category is for existing franchises that have had notable new games come out in the last year. So,
yep.
So our nominees for this category are Famicom Detective Club, Emio the Smiling Man, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, Tekken 8, Helldivers 2, Warhammer 40,000, Space Marine 2, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and Astrobot. So definitely a sizable category. We have lots of sizable categories this year.
There's a lot of. When I was looking at the list before we started, I was like, "Oh, we're a little jam packed." Because I think last year there was maybe we were kind of scratching for things to put in the list.
Yeah, and a lot of people were thinking this year, us included, that this year's games list was going to be a little bit on the smaller side. And I just don't think that's the case, looking at everything we have.
No, there's a lot.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think, honestly, when we do this again next year, I think it will be even better. This year's already, close to be, ridiculous year.
With the Switch 2 Event Horizon upon us.
True.
There's sure to be a lot of good coming with that, but...
Yeah, and we don't even know anything about what's coming for the Switch. And Nintendo already has a ridiculous year.
Yeah.
So with Metroid, Pokemon Legends, and
Mario Kart 9,
Mario Kart, whatever the hell that one was. Yeah, exactly.
Mario Kart for the Switch. Yeah. So anyway, that's getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. I will say
the first category.
Out of these games, I've played 1, 2, 3 of them.
Damn. I have played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them.
Yep.
How many did I play? 3.
You at least played 3.
You did at least play 3.
Because those are the only 3 I didn't play.
Brandon, if you're an actual Warhammer fan, name all 40,000 hammers.
I am not an actual Warhammer fan because I don't have enough money to be a Warhammer fan. But no, so I'll talk about some of the ones I threw on this list real quick. So Warhammer Space Marine 2, this is basically third-person Left 4 Dead. It's really fucking good.
Let me go into Steam real quick because you've already sold me.
It's really fucking good.
You sold me that fast.
You get to make your own characters and different characters that you can make. You basically just go down the skill tree, but instead of going down the skill tree to get skills, you go down the skill tree to get armor styles and paint cosmetic stuff, that sort of thing. So all the cosmetics, aside from the ones that are in the battle pass, are just things you get while playing the game. The game itself, I didn't mean to say battle pass, sorry. I meant to say expansion pass, it's whatever the fuck they're called. Those DLC season pass things. Anyway. So this game, really, really good. There is an entire single player campaign that you can also play fully co-op, but then there's its own other style that branches off from the single player campaign where you play as a different platoon essentially, and that platoon is made up of your custom character that you made, and you can choose what kind of character and class it is. So you might be like a shield bro, or you might be a sniper, or those are two of the main options. There are other options where it's like you're just playing like a normal soldier. So you got your normal assault rifle, and then your pistol, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. But there's more like crazy ones, like I said. Like there is a literal shield bro class where you just use a shield, like you just pummel things with those shields, and you take those in and you go off on the mission, and the mission essentially is getting from point A to point B and fighting the waves and hordes of enemies on your way there, similar to something like you would do in Left 4 Dead. And I mean, it's a blast. It's a really, really fun game. I think they made just for once, instead of like focusing on, oh, let's focus on the technology, or let's do this, that, and the other, or whatever. Not saying that this game doesn't look beautiful, because it looks beautiful, and they have so many enemies on screen at once that it's pretty crazy. But even with all of that, the thing that is most focused on with this game is just being a good and fun game to play. So I thought this was a great new entry in the series, and it's been like 10, 15 years since we got the last one, so yeah, it's awesome. Really fun. Nick, Tekken 8's here.
Tekken 8 is here.
Talk about it.
Love Tekken 8.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, no. I mean, not that Tekken 7 was a bad game by any means, but Tekken 7 was definitely getting a little long in the tooth. So 8 coming out, and 8 coming out so evenly across all platforms was definitely welcomed.
Yes.
The strongest showing of this fighting game to date.
Yeah,
I have a lot of fun with it. My only major gripe with it is the soundtrack could be better.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's a fighting game, so does that how much does that really weigh on the overall enjoyment of the game? But every character feels really, really solid. Obviously, they're going to support it for a while here. I was actually playing it a bunch over the weekend, but I love this game, and more people should play it. Because I feel like Tekken 8 is probably, I don't want to say it's the most accessible fighting game right now, because modern controls on Street Fighter 6 exists. But I feel like Tekken is a little bit more easier for you to get fancy with quicker. And I feel like
the most approachable Tekken I think they've ever made. I had a friend that didn't like play Tekken like at all, and I ended up buying this. I mean, I got this for my birthday, I think it was, or something. It doesn't matter. But either way, I got this game because I love Tekken. Tekken's my favorite fighting game. Period.
As it should be.
And it's great. So I played it, and then my buddy was like, yeah, no, fuck it, I'm buying it too. So he ended up buying it, and then we ended up playing just a shit ton of this game. And we still check in whenever there's like a new character that comes out or whatever. Like I played with Clive, what the fuck is a hot dog?
Clive is fun. Clive is
and, we had a blast. We had a blast playing this game. And I think Tekken 8 is probably the easiest it's ever been to get a newcomer or someone that's not super into Tekken, and it's great because of that.
I was gonna say too, on top of that, I feel like when you're learning a fighting game, I feel like in Street Fighter, for instance, like there's maybe one or two situations where, like, if you're fighting somebody and they have you in like an infinite or something, like you have nothing you can do. And you have to learn a lot more of the matchups in a game like Street Fighter, where in Tekken, since it's on a 3D kind of fighting plane, there's a lot more options, and you don't have to necessarily know how to fight the character. It's more so, all right, if they're doing X, Y, and Z, how do I get out of it?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a lot, like you said, a lot more approachable, and I think a lot more enjoyable, because it's less of like dang, I misinputted and now I'm getting smashed into a wall. It's, dang, I misinputted, I'm getting my shit pushed in, but I still have a chance.
Yep. Yeah, this is a great series overall. And I think Tekken 8 is one of the best that's been in a very long time.
No, for sure. Love Tekken 8. Love it, love it, love it. I was gonna say, also on this list that I've played, if we're done talking about Tekken 8.
Yeah, we can move on.
I've played Astrobot.
Same.
Love Astrobot. Mike, did you play Astrobot?
I have not.
Does Mike have a PS5?
Michael, do you have a PS5?
I do not.
He does not.
Yeah,
There you go.
Interesting.
I don't know why you said that way. It just made me think of fucking Peter Griffin. Shallow and pedantic. Yes.
Interesting. No, so Astrobot is truly so far one of those rare, I feel like, series where every game is actually better than the last, and
absolutely
not in a way where like you can overlook some things. No, it's genuinely.
It's just a better game.
Any
than
aspect
the last one
of Astrobot has been improved, and not to say that Astrobot, the pack-in that came with PS5.
No, that was the best PS5 game.
Yeah, no, that was like my favorite PS5 game
easy.
for a long time. Mostly because there was no other PS5 games, but it was also that good. Probably up there as my favorite pack-in game that I've ever played.
Yeah.
I never played the VR one because I didn't get to either.
Yeah, same.
But
I've heard I've heard it's very good, but like I don't have enough information to say whether it is or not.
Yeah. Very solid platformer. I wish they would give Team Asobi access to all of the dead IPs that they left in the graveyard that is this game. And that is my one complaint about this game, is that it's very, very fun, but it's almost like, how can I explain this? I feel like you have to kind of play it with horse blinders on, right?
I actually read the best way that was described.
Okay, I'm gonna say mine.
Okay, go for it. Yeah, and then I'll say what I read.
I feel like you gotta play with horse blinders on, right? Because if you think too much about it, you're kind of like, damn, they can make really solid platformers. Here are all these IPs they haven't touched in like 20, 30 years, a lot of which are platformers. Can we have a little bit of, you know what I mean? And I think the irony of when this game released, it was around the same time that, I forget who from Sony said it. They were just like, oh, well, we don't have many IPs to work with. And I'm like, you just put a game out with like all of them plus some, like, so I don't know what you mean by that. But that's my only gripe about that game, is that it's very much a pile of bones that Sony just looks at and is like, yeah, maybe we'll do something with that. I don't fucking know.
Yep.
What was your description?
Okay. So the description I read quite literally said, Astrobot is, people call Astrobot a celebration of PlayStation. But honestly, what it is a funeral.
Oh, it's a wake. Yeah, it's a wake.
So here's the thing, right? And I feel exactly the same way you do about Astrobot. I think Astrobot is one of the most fun and enjoyable games I played all of 2024. It's not the best.
No.
But it is the most fun I had playing a game in 2024.
And it is the most game that I played. Like the actual, like the game in general, like game as a concept.
Oh yeah. And then the other thing I'll say about Astrobot is there were so many games in Astrobot. There are so many references in Astrobot. And it makes me miss when Sony was weird. I miss weird Sony. Weird Sony,
like Bib Ribbon Sony,
is peak gaming. But like, we ain't seen that from Sony in a very, very, very long time. Sadly. Yeah. Astrobot's great.
And you may never see it again.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe. Who knows?
All right, let me mention one here that I know neither of you guys have played, so it probably won't even matter. But I'm gonna talk about it.
Don't assume. What game?
Like a Dragon Infinite Well.
I know. I didn't play that.
Okay, I didn't think so. All right, Like a Dragon Infinite Well. I put this in Best New Series Entry because it is the sequel to The Man Who Erased His Name. It happens very soon after it, and I do think that if you have played every single Yakuza game up until this point, there are really good elements that are throwbacks and close out decade-long stories from this series, finally. And you get some closure, and you have some really, really good, important moments that happen. However, the overarching main story of this game as a whole, as its self-contained story, is bad. But the gameplay, the world, And the sheer amount of things that can be done in this game is the reason why I did put it in Best New Series Entry. Because, for instance, there is an entire Animal Crossing minigame, essentially, in this Yakuza game called Doki Doki Island, or it's Don Doko Island. There we go. That's the one. Don Doko Island. And that I spent 15 hours in alone in this game.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
So I spent an entire game's worth on one sub-story in this game. And it was so much fun. It was a blast to play. It was really interesting. And then, like, this entire game takes place in Hawaii and a few other places, but mostly Hawaii. And there's a lot of things here that are very different from the normal Yakuza games that really bring this to, like, a world of its own. And it feels like it's trying to do something different, but it doesn't quite stick the landing, in my opinion. So yeah, but Infinite Wealth is a really fucking good game that I spent like 120 or like 115 something hours in, and it was a blast. It was great. I really enjoyed the game aspect of this game-ass game. Not so much the story, which normally I enjoy the story of Yakuza games. But yeah, I thought this was a great game.
What else do we got here? Helldivers 2?
Yes, I think me and Nick can both talk about that one.
I did not play that game. I would not buy it specifically because
I thought you mentioned that it was a good multiplayer game. Is it just because you knew it was at one point when we were talking about it?
I don't believe I ever. I mean, I know people enjoy it. One of my friends absolutely.
When we were talking about the Game Awards, you mentioned it because it was one of the ones on the multiplayer list.
I think I might have mentioned it. I might have mentioned that it's probably going to win because I forget what else was on that list, but like I know that
wasn't
was
that great.
It
wasn't that great of a list.
Yeah. And that was like one of the most popular games this year.
Mm-hmm.
I specifically refused to get it because I didn't have a good computer at that time that could play it, and I was like, "Oh, I'll play it on PlayStation."
Yeah.
Except you need to pay for PS Plus. To play it on PlayStation, whereas on PC you don't, and it's the same servers.
Yep.
So I refused. And luckily, I refused so long that they ended up running the game into the ground. So no harm, no foul.
They did bring it back. I will say they did bring it back. Granted, yes, they did run into the ground. Yes, a lot of people did leave. But I will say, most recently, with their Killzone event, as well as their new release of like new vehicles and a new map and a new enemy type, I think this was a really good game overall that was hampered by some very poor business decisions on Sony's part, which honestly these business decisions are like games for Windows Live levels of very poor business decisions, and that's not good. However, I did want to bring up that, like, as a series entry, as an entry, like a sequel to a game that most people probably never even played the original. It was a top-down, third-person game that was very, very difficult, different. Very different. And it was good, and I did play the original. This game kind of came out of nowhere, and it sprinted into, like, virality, I guess would be the best way to put it. Yes. Like, everyone was talking about it in a matter of, like, days. You were seeing all the people talking about, like, just different memes from the game and all this other shit and whatnot. And it was huge. It was huge. So I put it on this list because, like, when I do think of best new entry in a series, the amount that, like, this series blew up from what it originally was to what it is now is insane. It's unheard of, honestly. And when people were seeing this game, like, advertised before, leading up even to the launch of it, everyone was like, who gives a fuck? This looks like shit. No one, whatever, who cares? And then it came out and everyone was like, oh, wait, hold on, this is actually really fucking good. Okay, cool. And I do think this game was really fucking good. I do think the game is still really fucking good. I think there's a lot of business problems that are tied up in this game, but I do think that the game, as a game-ass game, is a really good game.
Okay.
I have like 60 hours in it or something like that. I don't know how many. I have a lot though.
Gotcha.
That's like
Yeah,
nothing for you.
I
Pocket.
feel
I know.
like
I
I also
know.
kind of feel like I missed the initial wave of like
Yes.
everybody kind of being on it, and I'm like, well, now I don't know if I care.
Yeah, and it's kind of the same thing that happened with Power World. Power World kind of also had that thing where it's like, all right, everyone's kind of done playing this one now. All right, then. All right, bye. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we should let Mike speak about his games that none of us have played and try to convince us
Not true, but
as to why.
you haven't played them. I can tell you, Nick has
Nick,
at
have
least
you played
one of them.
Played any of these?
Of course, I've played Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. I love Zelda. You know that. The ones that are left.
Yeah.
I've played one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what I just said.
And the one that I played, I told you both to play.
I know. He said it was really good, and you know what? He was right.
Mario Party.
I was right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was fucking right.
Yeah. I don't remember. I don't remember where you stood on this, but I told Brandon, I'm like, this is like the best Mario Party that's ever come out.
You know what?
Mm-hmm.
I will say that aside from some shortcomings, I feel
Mm-hmm.
it's probably one of the best. It's not the best, but I think it's probably in the top 3 for me.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
The only thing that takes a mark off of it is that fucking lagoon map because it sucks shit. But otherwise,
every Mario Party has some shitty maps, but I do feel like I don't know. I've played I think 4 or 5 of them.
yeah.
Actually, I did not play the lagoon map, so I can't even talk about that
So
one.
there's a fundamental problem with the lagoon map.
Uh-huh.
There's basically you can raise and like lower like the water level, and you can get. I'm gonna put the picture actually of Goomba Lagoon in the chat here. So, and anybody listening at home, just follow along with what I'm saying. So you see this like area where like the little shack is next to the beach where there's the volleyball and they're doing the whole Top Gun thing.
Yeah.
So the water level can raise, right? When the water level raises, you can't continue on the map, and you can just get stuck in an infinite circle basically until that water level drops again.
Oh, that's fun.
Or if you use an item to like swap spots, or if somebody swaps your spot. But until that water level drops again, you're not crossing.
Okay.
And that sucks.
That
shit.
sounds pretty shit.
It is. It is. So I tend to not play that map because of that. I play every other one because, well, this is also map lacks Wiggler milk, and you know, I gotta have my daily.
You got a daily Wiggler milk.
Yeah. But yeah, no. Tell me what you like about it, because I feel like I've talked about it in excess with you guys before, so I want to hear your opinion on it.
No, I think it's just a very well built game. I think that presentation wise, I think this is like probably the best like presentation in terms of how they display information on the screen and like kind of what's going on and what upcoming stuff's going on. Graphically, definitely the best looking Mario Party game, although that bar's not very high. But they even did you'll notice even just kind of like little effects too. Like I noticed in one of the I think it was the snowball fight mini game, like when I won, you saw like the little kind of like breathing effects, like the cold. I thought that was really kind of nice. I think it's got a lot of fun music. I think the mini games are really good. I like the options that they have available, kind of for the. I mean, granted, everyone plays Mario Party for Mario Party, and that's fine. But I do think some of like the non Mario Party options that are in here are enjoyable too. Like I actually thought the single player stuff was a lot of fun and definitely better than what they've done in the past, which is usually just, hey, play this map except with computer players and win. Like that's not fun. Like this one, they kind of have you going through the maps, doing little quests and playing mini games. I thought that was kind of nice the way that they had played it all out. And it's a great way to familiarize yourself with the maps before you play them, which I thought was a nice touch. What else do I like about this game? Like I said, it has some nice variety between controller mini games and motion control mini games, and you have the option to easily kind of turn them on and off. I think the pro mode is actually kind of nice and at least reasonably well thought out. There's probably some tweaks that they can make there, but it definitely does, I think, well to help help diminish some of the effects that randomness can have on Mario Party if you're looking for something that's kind of more skill based.
Uh-huh.
So I think that's enjoyable. And I just think overall it's just kind of a nice package. Like I think that just compared to some of the Mario parties we've had recently, there's been some things that have been kind of missing here and there, but I just think that this one's kind of a nice package. The games do tend to run a bit long, though. I have seen that complaint online.
They do, yeah.
I think all Mario parties run long, so it's kind of like, well, what's the difference of 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there? But yeah, there is that kind of aspect of that too. But overall, honestly, very happy with it. I've really enjoyed my time with it, and was like surprised. I was expecting just another Mario Party, but I was like, oh, they've honestly actually seemed to have put effort into this, and that was kind of nice. Yeah, yeah, I thought that was really nice. So there is that. Do you have anything else to say on Mario Party before I slipped on?
No, I mean, you're right with everything. It does take a little long. That's why me and my friends usually only play 10 rounds.
Uh-huh.
I feel like anything after that is a lot.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I feel like you're splitting hairs after 10 turns anyways. It's really just someone's gonna take away the lead unless something random happens, and
I couldn't imagine hey guys, want to come over and play Mario Party? Yeah. How many turns? 40. No, I have to work. I have to work tomorrow, dude. Like we're not doing this.
Yeah, it's only a sadist would do that. Like that's too much. Yeah, no, that game I think overall just really enjoyable. So I'll be interested to see if they do some stuff down the road with like DLC.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, honestly, really good. So I was really happy with that. Famicom Detective Club, Emio the Smiling Man. So this game's notable, I think, for maybe two reasons. One, it's a sequel to a series that has not had an entry in like 30 years. So that's kind of a big deal. The last kind of like real release was on the actual Famicom. So that's your perspective there. They have had some remakes, I think maybe one or two. The most recent ones were like for the series, for the last two games. They had remakes on the Switch 2 or 3 years ago. And I guess they just had an idea for a new one and they went and did it. Another reason this is notable, also it's an M-rated game published by Nintendo, very uncommon, and also even more so generally the ones that they have published have been pretty much externally developed almost entirely. This one actually has had some development assistance from Nintendo. So what's his name? Takahashi, the guy who's like behind Metroid. He also was, I think, the producer director on this game as well. So he's had quite a hand in there, and the story was his. Story is kind of weird. I'm sure we'll come back to that later, but good weird, I would say. But yeah, that is there. So there's that. Other than that, it is kind of your standard point and click adventure game. They do some quality of life improvements versus the remakes of the last two games, even a little bit more variety here and there, a little bit more to kind of help mix up just the regular gameplay, and so players wouldn't get stuck as often, which is kind of helpful. But overall, just a very pleasant experience. So that's good. Last one, Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. This one I think is notable because it strays from the general Legend of Zelda formula. You're playing as Zelda, so it's not as combat heavy as it has in the past, which makes it interesting. You have this ability to, I don't remember what they call them. You can basically like conjure up these items with your wand and use them to kind of for solving puzzles and for combat as needed.
Okay.
Which is interesting. Basically, if you come across the item that can be cloned or whatever you want to call it, you walk up to it, you get it into a menu, and then you can pull it out basically anytime after that. There's some limitations on how many items you can generate at any time, but generally, more than you need. Like I don't ever really feel like I was like, oh, if only I could generate 20 more versions of this item, I'd be able to solve it. No, usually I think the game caps out at like 6 for the smallest items. So you could generate quite a bit of enough of things to get through any puzzle you really need without any real complications there. Also interesting, I think, is that it uses the Link to the Past map, except it's expanded beyond its normal borders. So you do more or less have a lot of the same features that you had in, say, Link to the Past, but things have obviously progressed through time. So there are some differences in that aspect, just kind of with where some towns are, where ruins and stuff are. But some key like monuments and location things are identical. Like you still go back to some old temples that are there. They're just kind of repurposed, which I think is interesting. Gameplay or not gameplay, graphics wise, it uses the same look as Link's Adventure remake, that kind of claymation style, which I think looks great. I think it's a good looking game. But overall, really kind of enjoyable experience. Not what I was expecting. I felt it was very reminiscent of like the Game Boy or more like classic Zelda games, even despite the gameplay changes. And it was very nice kind of return to form for the series, which we have not. I don't feel like we've really seen, for a while. Because at least not on the Switch generation. I mean, there's been remakes and stuff, but nothing new like this since maybe A Link Between Worlds to some degree, which has been, I don't even know how long. It's been a lot longer than I'd like to admit at this point.
Okay.
At least 10 years. So I was still working at GameStop when that game came out. So, but yeah, those are my 3 games. That's kind of where they are.
Okay.
So,
Well, there you go.
there you are. All right. What are we knocking off? What are we keeping?
Great question.
I would take. I mean, I'm gonna obviously knock Zelda off there. But if I were to put my top 3 from this list, I guess that might be the better way to do it. Would be Mario Party, Tekken 8, and Astrobot.
Yeah, I think I'm Tekken 8, Astrobot, and honestly probably Helldivers 2, with Astrobot being number 1.
And then I would say, what do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I would put Mario Party on this list as well. I agree with Astrobot. I think that should probably be there too.
All right. So all 3 of us agree with Astrobot. We just got to figure out the placement of Astrobot.
Yeah. I mean, I'm at number 1 with Astrobot, but that's just me.
And Mario Party should go on just by default because it's 2. And I think Tekken was also 2 of us as well, right?
Yep, I think Tekken, Mario Party, Astrobot. I think those should be our 3.
Okay, and then do you want to make Astrobot number 1?
Kinda.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
I'm good with that.
Okay, so
nice.
First category, best new series entry. Winner goes to Astrobot with runners up, Super Mario Party Jamboree and Tekken 8.
Nice.
So there we are. First category down. You guys ready for the next?
Sure.
Okay, let's move on.
All right.
All right. This is should be maybe an easy category. I mean, we could fluff this one out, but I don't think we need to. We just use the legitimate ones that are here. Best remake or remaster. There's 4 nominations for this category: Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, Silent Hill 2 remake, System Shock, and Persona
3 Reloaded.
Yes.
Yep.
There you go. I'll talk about Paper Mario first. So
sounds good.
Yeah. So this is probably, I don't know, maybe one of the most requested releases for a long time. This game's been locked away on the GameCube for, I don't know, 20 years at this point, probably.
A really long fucking time, yeah.
Yeah, just very beloved Mario RPG. Still uses kind of that action turn-based system that Mario's popular for. This game also it's a nice sized RPG for Mario. I don't think it's too long, but I also don't think it's too short either. Just a decent length. Brings back Mario's partners. It's a great looking game because of the art style. The Paper Mario and kind of like the paper aesthetic, the way that they use it. I think works out really nice. I mean, the game looked great on the GameCube as it was because the paper holds up really well. So just to kind of have it rezzed up, I think it looks nice. They put some quality of life features in there too, which I think were helpful as well. But also a classic RPG in a lot of ways. So it's just very nice to just have it to come back and accessible. I think that's a nice bonus on its own. And they did go back through and redo the music from top to bottom on this one, and some of the tracks are just incredible. Very happy with it. Also, the dialogue in this game has always been really funny too. I wish I could remember some of them off the top of my head, because it has been about at least a good 6 months since I played this game. I don't recall as many right there, but just very funny, very witty. Just kind of what you would expect for Mario RPG. Definitely a nice contrast to Brothership, which I'm sure will come up in one of the other categories coming up. But yeah, no, I just generally enjoyed it, and it was just kind of nice to see come back. So it didn't do definitely more in the remaster territory than remake, because they didn't change like a dramatic amount there.
Mhm.
Just like I said, some quality of life stuff, but overall, very good experience. So, yeah, that's all I gotta say. Unless you guys have any questions on it. Nick, did
No?
you end up playing it or no?
I did play it,
Oh, good.
and it's my first time playing it.
Hmm.
I never played on the GameCube, and I really like it.
Good. Did you finish
I
it?
Not yet. I do agree with you what you're saying that it's like more so in the remaster territory.
Yeah.
But honestly, no, it's probably not my favorite in terms of RPG kind of gameplay because it kind of feels a little weak in that department. But I do agree with you with like the writing and the characters are really really fun. So
Well, like the turn-based ads or the mechanics, like the
yeah, the mechanics of it just kind of they're very baby's first RPG, which is fine. But like I guess I played this like not so long after playing like some other RPGs, like Persona 3, which is on this list, and I was like, oh, okay, this is fine. But no, it's fun. It's a fun game.
Yeah. I do think difficulty-wise, though, I don't know. You said you didn't beat it, right? How far did you get? Do you remember?
I think like the third boss in.
Okay. So it's still pretty close to the not halfway at least. I would say difficulty-wise, this game definitely ramps up quite a bit. This is not like Mario RPG for the Super Nintendo where you can kind of just like cakewalk and blast through it. They're definitely, especially the final boss, it can get quite difficult sometimes. So, but it definitely ramps up the difficulty quite a bit from the beginning. It starts out pretty nice, but it does pick up a bit. But I do agree some of the other like action mechanics can be pretty not engaging maybe sometimes, but I don't know, overall I think it works well. So, I don't know, that's my 2 cents. Talk about the rest. Whoever.
All right.
Mhm.
Moving on, I guess. Silent Hill 2 Remake. I think this is one of the best remakes I have ever played. Like, I thought Resident Evil 4 Remake was phenomenal, and this is better than it. It's as simple as that. I'm floored that Bloober Team made a not only competent remake, but a damn fucking good one. To the point where it got all the little intricacies and added its own. And I honestly think this is one of the best remakes we've had in like 10 plus years. Easy. Easy, easy, easy. It's actually a remake, not a remaster, for those who don't know. There's a lot of new stuff added here. It does follow the same general plot as the original Silent Hill 2, but there's a bit more in there that hint at some theories that were crafted by the community over the last 20 years of this game existing. So, yeah, highly, highly recommend Silent Hill 2 Remake. I loved this game. I also put System Shock in here. System Shock Remake is like rebuilt from the ground up by Night Dive Studios. I believe that is who the developers are, and I want to double check so I don't get it fucked up. It is indeed Night Dive Studios. They put so much detail into this and rebuilt it in such a way that is phenomenal that it looks like a completely different game, but it's kind of like one of those games where this is what you thought the game originally looked like because they rebuilt it that way and they remade it that way where it's brought into modern day, but it's still done in a fashion that invokes the feeling of the original. And I mean, if you've never played System Shock, I would actually say play this remake first and foremost, because I do think it's the best way to experience System Shock. And if you've never, like, if you never don't even know what this game is, essentially, if you like Bioshock, this is the game for you, because this is essentially what led to Bioshock being a game that existed. System Shock is kind of what Bioshock was the spiritual successor to. So there you go. Play System Shock Remake because it's awesome, and play System Shock 2 Remake whenever it comes out also, because it will also be awesome if it's made by the same team. So yeah, Great game. And then the last one I put on this list was Persona 3 Reload. I think
I put this on this list.
You put it on the list?
I did.
You put it on the list? I thought I put it on the list. Oh my god. Okay, well then, there you go. Well, shit, man. My bad. Let's talk about it. Go ahead, Nick.
No, you can talk about it. I was just feel like, you bitch.
No, I didn't realize I didn't write this one, so my bad. Yeah, I would have wrote this one if I would have remembered to write this one. But yeah, Persona 3 Reload. I think the best way to put this is, again, it kind of does the same thing System Shock was, where it feels like what I thought the PS2 version of this game was. If you look at the PS2 version of Persona 3, it's kind of gotten... It's showing its age a bit. And this brings it into the modern world, and with a new, fresh coat of paint, and it looks gorgeous while doing so. They pretty much translated everything for the most part here. Obviously, aside from like things that were cut, but whatever. We're not going to get into that. But no, the main story, the main game is all translated over here, and even the DLC was as well, which I still got to go back and play that DLC. Yeah, Persona 3 Reload's very, very good remake as well. Nick, please add on some more to Persona 3 Reload for me.
I love it.
Okay, that's a good way to.
No, I love it. I own the PS2 one, the FES, I think it's called.
It is called FES. Yep.
This was like my first time actually digging into it, because I remember I was when I was collecting games for like the PS2, like this was one of the games I grabbed because I think it was like at Five Below or something, and like it was like a weird time.
Shit.
Yeah, it was a really weird time. Anyway, but I mainly downloaded this because it was for free on Xbox Game Pass.
Yep.
And dove back into it, and it feels honestly really good to me. It feels better in ways than Persona 4 does.
But Persona 3 is the best out of all of them. That's my opinion.
Yeah, like I don't know, because when I went back to play Persona 4, I was like, okay, I can tell this is like a game back. Whereas when I was playing Persona 3, I was like, oh, this feels really good. So, I mean, I feel like maybe they put a little bit more care into this than they did the remaster for P4G, which is fine. I mean, they're still both good games. But if you've played Persona 5 and like that's the only Persona you've played, which is there's a very good chance it's the first one I played, then this will feel like a very welcomed experience for you, and you'll have a lot of fun playing it. And if you haven't played any Persona, it's still a really good one to get in on, just because of the approachability of it. The story's good, the characters are good, the music's good, and it's not. I don't think it's that expensive. 3 Reload. Is it still 50? I don't know. Whatever. However much money is it? Oh, it's on sale right now. Actually, $35. Go grab it.
Yeah, definitely get it.
And it plays very good. So. Can't
or like we
recommend
said,
it.
If you have Game Pass, it's just on there, and so is the DLC.
Yes, the DLC actually, you had to request that before a certain
oh really okay
day,
well,
and now it's not. Yeah, now it's not. But yeah, very very good, very good. But yeah, so actually I didn't. I'm sorry, Brandon, I did not get a chance to play the Silent Hill 2 remake yet.
Damn it!
I know. It was my one homework assignment. Unfortunately, other things had consumed my life, and I didn't get a chance to like sit down. I'm also waiting to play with my partner because they wanted to watch me play, and I was like, "Well, I don't have any way to stream
me and
this
Katie,
to you."
we swapped back and forth playing that while like just sitting down playing it together.
Yeah.
We really liked it. Spoiler alert: you're going to be seeing a lot more of the Silent Hill 2 remake. So
that's fair. Yeah, I mean, I know from my friends who have played it. Everybody sings its praises and how it's like. My one friend was saying that he felt like it flew a bit under the radar this year.
I think so too. Yeah.
Not that it wasn't like people were talking about it. It was like a good game, but more so that like it felt in a way like people should have been talking more about it. I guess.
I don't feel like horror games really proliferate like they used to.
No. And I think maybe a part of the issue is that maybe because this was a Silent Hill 2 remake, people are like, well, I haven't played the first one.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on in the second one.
Even though they are completely different games.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure. But like,
you don't
it's
know
just
that. And just
yeah,
looking at a cover, you're not going to be like, "Oh yeah, let me do some research and see if I can play this game, even though I've never played the original."
yeah.
Funny thing is, you actually can't play Silent Hill 3 if you haven't played Silent Hill 1.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I did not get a chance to play that yet. So the only ones I have played on this list are Thousand Year Door and P3. I haven't played System Shock. I haven't played Silent Hill 2. But the other two are good.
My choices are 100% Silent Hill 2 Remake being the best remake that released last year. And then Thousand Year Door and P3 Reload. That's my choices.
I think those three are reasonable choices.
Yeah, I can get jiggy with that.
I do think Silent Hill should take it because it is a remake ass remake. You know, that's just my opinion.
It's like a remake in the almost in the same vein that like Dead Space was.
Yeah, well, no, even more so.
Yeah,
there's stuff added to this.
But whereas like Thousand Year Door is a remaster,
mm-hmm.
like P3 obviously is more closer to remake territory ish, but
yeah,
not,
it's very close to being
off.
Remake, but it's more of like quality of life remake.
Yeah.
Than it is like new shit remake, which is what Silent Hill 2 Remake is.
For sure.
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable reason to give it to Silent Hill for this category.
Is everyone in agreement then?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, all done. Best remake or remaster goes to Silent Hill 2, with runners-up Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door and Persona 3 Reload.
Very good.
All right, next category, best artistic approach. So this is really about art style and how they use it, not necessarily about pure graphical function. So nominees for this one: Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Lorelei and the Laser Eye, Balatro, Mario and Luigi Brothership, Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom, Mullet Magic, Anton Blast, Astrobot, and Metaphor Refantasio. It's our nominees, and we're sticking to it.
That's a lot of nominations.
I know.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Anton Blast was Brandon's game.
It absolutely is. Yeah.
What?
It's Anton Blast.
I looked it up. I looked it up and I was like, yeah, this doesn't scream Mike to me.
Yeah. You know what this is, Nick?
I've never heard of it before today.
Oh, do you see those reviews?
Overwhelmingly positive.
So
it kind of looks like Pizza Tower-ish.
When Pizza Tower was being made, Anton Blast was the inspiration for Pizza Tower. But Anton Blast got released after Pizza Tower, and they both are really good friends. Both the developers are, and they're totally cool with each other. They like each other's games too. Anton Blast is a lot more Saturday morning cartoony than Pizza Tower, in my opinion. And also it has a lot more of those elements that make it feel like the new Donkey Kong Country games, like the one that just released on Switch. That's a remake of the one from the Wii and the 3DS. Because of the color palettes and the different exiting the stage sort of moments where it's got an entire ending that looks like silhouettes or something instead of actually seeing your character, and you see their silhouette as they're traveling back to the exit and everything. It's Wario Land. It's literally Wario Land.
Okay.
But there's a lot of really cool elements to the art style that I think made it stand out, so that's why I put it on this one. But also the color palettes that they chose for this game are very different. There's a lot of greens and reds, and that's in pinks and shit, and that's not a normal color palette for game colors, for the primary colors for the game. It feels nasty, like your Boogerman from Sega Genesis, or something like that. It feels like that, and I really liked that dirty.
It's got
kind
a
of
Garbage Pail
to
Kids feel.
Yeah,
to it.
Yeah, it's got that to it, and I really liked that element of it. So I was like, okay, yeah, this one's going in here. It's a really good game too. I highly recommend it. So yeah, there you go. That's why that one's here. And then Metaphor Refantasio is here because, I mean, look at it. It is It is beautiful. It has this kind of like
It is very
whimsical fantasy vibe to it the entire way. It feels kind of like you're in a fantasy book, which works a lot with the actual themes and story of the game
what
itself.
it feels like to me?
What?
It feels like Fire Emblem 3 houses with a budget, like artistically wise.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that, because then you see like the human monsters, and the human monsters feel like the kind of really creepy things you would see in Courage the Cowardly Dog that flash on the screen for
that,
like one frame.
No, what I'm saying, that pulls you back out. But
Yeah.
I think when you're just in like the regular towns and everything, you look at the character models, you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
this is really good high fantasy.
Yeah.
And then you get to the human things, you're like, oh fuck, dude.
Yeah, you get the fucking Courage the Cowardly Dog moments where you're like, what the fuck is going on?
What do you mean there's a floating head in my basement?
Yeah, why is there a bar inside of an egg that I just cracked open that was inside of a human skull? What the fuck is going on? And I really like that. It's a very different theme and vibe than your normal Atlas game, in my opinion. And then I also absolutely adore the UI. The UI is probably some of the best that Atlas has ever made, and it looks
a very good UI.
Incredible. So that is why that one is here for me. And then Mullet Mad Jack looks like an anime. I don't think I sing this game's praises enough. Mullet Magic is a game where the entire time you are playing it, your likes and sub count on Twitch, essentially, is pumped into your veins, which keeps you alive. So you have to continuously do really cool kills, similar to something like, oh god, why can't I think of the name of that game? Maybe People Can Fly.
I'll just say Death Stranding.
No,
no. I know you're talking about Bulletstorm.
Yeah, Bulletstorm. It's like Bulletstorm, but it's like you get time and you get to live longer the cooler your kills are and that sort of deal. And you're on a game show that's being broadcast to the rest of the world. But this whole thing is very like cel shaded, very colorful, very comic book manga-ish, and it's entirely like anime themed. But then you have like people that give you these like notes and stuff that will call you, and when they call you they have like an overview, like it's a Twitch like a stream where someone's commenting on the stream that you're putting on for them. And that element to it where it has like these drop down videos where people start talking to you, where it looks like a 90s anime, where it's just like super colorful environment the entire game. I really, really like that aesthetic of Mullet Magic. I think it looks incredible when you're seeing it happen in like motion. And then the little in-between cutscenes that you get also look straight out of a 90s anime. And I loved Mullet Magic with a passion. It was so fucking good. Those are the ones I specifically put on here. So we can talk about others that are here. So go.
All right. Let's see. I put Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom on here. I'm gonna talk about it briefly, but I'm gonna just I'll preemptively take it off the list too. I think it's a great looking game. I love the claymation style for it. I think it looks phenomenal. But
it is pretty.
Yeah, no, I think it looks really good, and I do think in some ways this does look better than even Link's Awakening. But it is the same art style at the end of the day, so it's not anything kind of new or revolutionary there. So. Definitely notable, definitely memorable. I love seeing games like it, and but I think there's some newer, better stuff that we could probably spend some more effort talking about. Okay. Mario Luigi Brothership. I do actually really like the art style in this game. I have lots of complaints about this game. Don't get me wrong, but I think they really nail it in the art style. So really for games that are transitioning from like 2D to 3D. Sometimes a lot of that character can get lost in the animation. I don't think that's the case with Mario and Luigi Brothership. From the moment we saw this in the Nintendo Direct, it was very clear that this was a Mario and Luigi game, just from the art style alone. They have carried that over so well. I think they've dabbled in 3D before, but not to this degree, not like fully 3D, because they did do the 2 remakes on the 3DS, but I think there was still some aspects of there that were not fully converted, if I recall. This is definitely fully 3D, and it looks incredible. And I do like that kind of the way that they do the art style, I think that it's just very animated and shows a lot of character. So definitely a big fan of Brothership's art style. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. This game, like in terms of just graphics and looks, it looks like Indiana Jones, like period. Like it looks like Indiana Jones. The locations look like Indiana Jones. The places look like the actual places, which I think is great. They definitely have done a good job with that. But also carrying over kind of that Indiana Jones aesthetic and some of the kind of World War II era stuff that they have in there. I think it looks really good. So definitely top notch. I think that especially too, like the way that the characters look and feel, like Indiana Jones definitely feels like Indiana Jones, like himself, like the actual like character. But even the supporting cast all feels really well thought out, all feels very realistic. And I think everything looks really good on that kind of aspect. Some of the other stuff that's going on there too, like some of the temples and some of the places later in the game where they're kind of more exotic, I would say, look really cool. Like I really kind of like the overall feel and look of this game. Granted, this is definitely like pushing kind of just the higher end graphics. I think it does really well with just how it looks from top to bottom. So there's that. On the flip side, you have kind of more of a stylized game like Lorelei and the Laser Eye. I really kind of like the restricted color palette that they do here. In some ways, it gives me very much like a Killer 7 vibe, which I think is really, really interesting. But it definitely does a lot to stand out compared to some other games, and definitely even some indie games. I mean, I feel like indie games are definitely where you get some of the standouts in terms of like creative art. And I think Lorelei and the Laser Eye definitely is memorable just for that reason. So that's really good. Lots of good things about that game, but definitely artistic approach is another one. I put Balatro in this game too because I do think it has like an interesting art style. It's not super flashy, but it definitely carries itself through, as some nice themes there. Kind of with like the pixelated card style and just some of the stuff that they do with some of the card animations and things. I think it's gonna be a tough sell to probably make it into the top 3 in this category, but it was definitely something that stuck out to me artistically as interesting. So yeah, I think those are the ones that I put on there.
Okay.
Did we talk about all of them? I don't even know.
I think
Yeah.
I think we did. I think we did.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I think
Because
we
I
did
didn't
all
I
of
didn't
them.
put anything I would have put on here was on here.
Yeah.
So I will shock you when I say I probably wouldn't have put Balatro on here, just because like it does look very nice. It's a very pretty game to look at. It's a very satisfying game to look at.
Mhm.
I don't, in comparison to the rest of this list though, it's not doing much to to carve a name out for itself, because so I've had Mullet Magic on my wish list. I looked up Anton Blast when you were talking about it, Brand. I looked up Lorelei while you were talking about it, Mike. Like these games in general, just overall, a lot like cooler looking, a lot more interesting to me.
Yeah,
Like I said, I love Balatro, but I like Mullet Magic. Like Brandon, you kind of hit the nail on the head. Like this looks like a 90s anime. Also, like it feels like somebody's take of trying to make like a modern day Wolfenstein 3D or Doom or whatever what you want to call it. Like a classic FPS made in like a modern art style that doesn't look like shit. And like I feel like the art style is what kind of makes it a lot more palatable, because I feel like people have tried to make this kind of game in the past, like trying to hinge on like the nostalgia factor of that style of game, and it just doesn't work. Whereas this, I feel like a lot of the coloring and just how the animations are, it makes it that much more interesting.
Yeah, I definitely feel like in a different year, Balatro probably could have gone further. But this, honestly, there's a lot of good stuff this year to really
Agreed.
Compare to. So, I mean, I think there's definitely, a lot to. Where's what I'm looking for? Definitely, we can give a lot of credit to people being creative with kind of their artistic style, as compared to some other years. So,
yeah. And like as for some of the other games on this list, like I have to agree with Brandon. Like Metaphor is beautiful. I will say the menu. Speaking about like specifically about the menus, I think the Metaphor menu art style ran so that P3 walked so that metaphors could run.
Oh yeah.
It definitely, like, you can see like a lot of the crossover there. I kind of like how it looks in P3 more. But overall, like, Metaphor is a very beautiful game. The world is very pretty. So I'm okay with that being here. Again, like, Astrobot, very pretty game, but comparing it to the rest of what's on this list, I don't think it holds a candle. If we're going
this
purely off
category,
the
it'd
art
probably
style,
be easier to start whittling things off.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I think for me, the ones that I would knock off immediately would be Balatro, Astrobot. After that kind of gets hard because I do like Lorelei. I like Mullet. I like Anton Blast. Because that leaves us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I mean, personally, I'm all for putting just the 3 indie games in this category. I think those are the strongest contenders if we're looking at things more like creativity.
Yeah.
I was gonna say for artistic approach, like Indiana Jones looks very realistic.
Yeah, it does.
But I think that's kind of where it stops.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything like very realistic and very true to its source material, which I think that's another thing that's a good check mark and it's there. But you're right, it's really just you're talking about graphical prowess, which it definitely does, but I don't think it does anything really interesting in terms of like art otherwise. I think that some of the other ones, like I said, I think in this category I tend to prefer the more creative like art stuff.
For sure.
I think I've always been like that in this category. Like I don't tend to go with just like best graphics, I think, which is why we got rid of the best graphics category, because it turned into a pissing match. So yeah, no, I agree. I like I said, I'm all for putting the 3 indie games up as the 3. Unless you guys have any other thoughts that you'd rather.
No, I think that's for the best.
Okay. I think that's I agree with that. I think too it just kind of comes with the territory of the indie games. Like, I feel like indie games typically have the more appealing, more interesting art styles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because
also, I think too, staffing wise and like budget wise, like I think it's not realistic for them to compete with. Like, you think about like a small studio like Lorelei and the Laser Eye. I think it has like 5 employees. Like, they're not going to be able to pull out like Indiana Jones and the Great Circle type graphics if they wanted to, realistically. So they have to, and that's kind of how they differentiate, just by being more creative. And that doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's lesser. I actually think it's preferred. And I think it gives you some more mileage for what you can do on your budget. But there's been lots of games in the past that have done really creative art styles and really benefit from it. Going all balls to the wall in realism is not always a win. So yeah, I agree. In terms of winner overall, I'd probably either go.
For me personally, it's Mullet Magic. I think it looks.
I was gonna say either Mullet or Lorelei. Those were my thoughts. Anton Blast, I mean, it's still good, but I just prefer the other two.
No, that's understandable.
If I were to vote, Anton Blast definitely in the top 3. Probably Mullet over Lorelei.
That's right.
Lorelei has a very beautiful look to it. But I don't know, Mullet Magic just kind of it's very flashy in all the correct ways for my brain.
I feel the exact same way.
It's a very clean art style too. Like, the lines are very clean, and like, I don't know, I really vibe with what they were doing with that.
I highly recommend playing Mullet Magic on your console of choice or on PC. That game is fucking incredible, just saying.
All right. So we need to give it Mullet Magic. Is that the plan?
Hell yeah.
Okay. So best artistic approach overall goes to Mullet Magic, with runners-up Anton Blast and Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. So, all right. Next category, best surprise. All right. So definitely a decent size list out here. Famicom Detective Club MAO The Smiling Man makes a return. Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. Silent Hill 2 Remake. TCG Card Simulator. Helldivers 2 Rise of the Ronin. still Wakes the Deep and Marvel Rivals. The one's on there.
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
Yeah. Although at least the two that I put on here, I don't have as much to say about them at this point because I've already talked to them about them at least once before, if not twice. Famicom Detective Club, definitely a big surprise. I think in terms of, for a couple different reasons. A, if you remember this one, the way it was kind of announced, Nintendo just put out like a random video, was like, "Who is Emio?" And everyone's like, "What the fuck is this? Is this?"
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was definitely like
game. Is it this? Is it something else? Is it a horror remake? Like people were all over the board, and then Nintendo's like, "Surprise! We're bringing back a franchise that's been dead for 30 years with a brand new entry." So yeah, I think that one like literally took everyone by surprise.
yeah.
Also, really enjoyable game. Like I said earlier, I had a great time with it. I think it's a fun, kind of a point and click adventure game. I think it does really well with that. Interactive novel. Also, it all kind of falls really well with that. So, really enjoyable there. Definitely didn't see it coming, but was very happy with that one. Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, probably the weaker of the two that I put on here, but I'll still explain. This one also, if I recall, was just kind of, it was announced in a Nintendo Direct. I don't think we were really expecting too terribly much from Nintendo at the end of last year, considering I think we were all expecting the Switch 2 around that time. But they were like, "Oh, hey, by the way, we have a Zelda game that we finished, and we didn't announce it, and it's coming out in like less than 6 months." And it's also it's literally a Zelda game. Like it's not, you're not playing as Link. You were playing as Zelda, which is something that they've kind of beat around the bush on for years. Like I don't know if you guys remember all the people who got bent out of shape with Breath of the Wild when they found out Link was actually a man, and they couldn't choose to play as Zelda if they wanted to. So yeah, just the fact that they finally were kind of like, okay, we'll throw you a bone, we'll give you some Zelda, and we'll make it so she's unique and plays differently. And I think that was kind of great, that the way that they did that and the way that they approached that. So they definitely did enough to make it feel like Zelda is like Zelda the character, not Zelda the game or the franchise. Too many fucking Zeldas. But make it so that she feels like she's an interesting character. Like this is not just like rehash. Like this is a unique adventure with a different character, and it plays differently than you've played before. It also plays the same in a lot of ways. I think that they did a good job with kind of expanding what Zelda as a series has without really closing too many doors. So I don't know. I was definitely pleasantly surprised with it. And when I played the game too, I know I was kind of like, I don't know if Brandon remembers. It's kind of ho-hum on it before it came out. I was kind of like, whatever, I'll play it when it gets around to it. But I actually was like, oh, this is actually kind of a unique gameplay hook that they have here, and I thought they did something really creative with it. So yeah, definitely pretty happy with that. So there's my 2 cents for those games.
Well, there you go.
Interesting, by the way, fact. Me and my friends were talking about over the weekend. Counting new games, re-releases, and Nintendo Online. Every year of the Switch's life, a Zelda game has come out.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, they've been. I think there was one year that didn't have like a retail release even. I like, and that was probably the year where they had the NSO. But yeah, literally since the system come out, it's been Breath of the Wild, Hyrule Warriors, something. They've done really good with it. So, and I also think it's because I was thinking about it last night too. Just I guess kind of side detour, but I was also like, I don't feel like Zelda fatigued. Like I think they're do a good job with variety enough that I'm not just like, oh man, here's another Zelda game. Like it's not always the same thing. So I don't know. For what it's worth, I think that's interesting. So okay, I don't know. It's all my Zelda.
Okay.
What else
I'll talk about some of the things I wrote in here. So I've got Silent Hill 2 Remake making a triumphant return because they didn't fuck it up, and that's impressive, and that's a huge surprise. And on top of all of that, Nick, I don't know if you heard the episode, but there was an episode where I spent like fucking 40 minutes going off on how bad this game was going to be.
I think Nick was here for at least one.
I think I was there for one of those lashings actually.
Okay, yeah. So it was a huge surprise that this game was actually good, really well made, and I mean, honestly, better than good. It's fucking excellent. But moving on from that, TCG Card Simulator. This one kind of blew up out of nowhere, and I don't know if you guys saw it. I know it didn't. I don't think it made it to consoles, but I think there's a bunch of AI fake ones that are on consoles that did make it to consoles. And essentially, this game is a game where you are a manager of a new shop, and the shop sells only trading cards. And the cool aspect of it is you can open up the packs that you also buy to sell. And instead of selling the packs, you can open them up and try to get like the more expensive card and then get money that way. So you kind of balance between actually collecting it like a Pokemon cards and going into debt and running a card shop the way you should, where you like change the prices every few days and see what the market's doing and whatnot, and building your card game empire shop essentially. And this got really big online for quite a while, for many weeks. I saw like multiple streamers playing it. I saw lots of mods that came out. I saw like an actual Pokemon card mod where you could like unpack like real Pokemon cards and shit that were modded into the game, and that shit was really cool. This came out of nowhere essentially though. Like no one even knew it was going to be coming out, and then when it came out, like everyone was playing it for a few weeks, and almost a month later there were still some people playing it. But I do think it's much more niche because it didn't make it to consoles, but I did think it was huge in the PC gaming and the streaming space for a very long time. And pretty much all of my friends and I bought it and played it when it first came out, after it like became massively viral. So that's why that's here. Speaking of massively viral, we also have Helldivers 2 making another return to a list. Again, this game blew up out of nowhere. Huge surprise. I feel like no one was talking about this game before its release, except Sony. And they really want us to think that it was going to be good. And they kept putting it in like every single little state of play or whatever they had, and no one gave a shit. And then it released and it exploded. So that was a huge surprise. This one's personally for me. Rise of Ronin is on here, and this game, I had zero faith in it being good. I bought it on a whim because it was on sale, and I thought it might be, worth a stream to make fun of it or just see how it is. This was a game that was so weird because I played it for 66 hours and 10 of it I hated the game. But it was a huge surprise because it was one of those games that once it clicked, it was like, oh, this is what this game is supposed to be. And then when I noticed what the game was actually supposed to be, it really made me be like, oh, okay, so let me approach this from a different direction. And then when I approached it from a different direction, I was legitimately surprised at just how good and in-depth this game was. And so I also put it on this list. Still Wakes the Deep is probably the second or third best horror game that released last year, and I heard zero people talking about it yet again. A lot of the things I put for big surprises on here are because no one talked about them. And then when I played it, I was just floored that no one was talking about them. I think, Mike, you should play Still Wakes the Deep because you would fucking love this game. It is something that I was not expecting it to be, essentially. Like, I don't really want to spoil it because it is definitely one of those games where if you aren't experiencing the story as you're playing it, then, like, that's it. There is no game there. There is no gameplay. But I highly recommend playing Still Wakes the Deep. In the most vague way possible, something happens to a ship that you're on, and shit starts going crazy, essentially. And this is made by, I want to say, the developers that made Amnesia. And they've kind of been...
It's the Chinese Room, so I think that's Scary Pigs.
The second Amnesia, that's Scary Pigs. But it's good. It's really fucking good. And, yeah. Katie convinced me to play this one. She said she thought it looked interesting. And it was.
Interesting. I don't remember you talking about this one before, or maybe vaguely.
It's kind of hard to talk about this one, period, without just completely spoiling it. So that's the reason why even now I'm kind of like, just go play the game if you can. It's on Game Pass. It's worth giving a check. And then on top of all of that, I mean, it's only like $20 if you don't buy it on Game Pass. So again, worth checking out. So yeah. Nick, you put Marvel Rivals on here. I'm sure of it. So let's talk about that.
I did. So I put this in the best surprise because it hasn't been a good year for the hero shooter genre.
Nope.
Especially if your company is named Sony.
True.
In all actuality, too, like in the already inflated space of this genre, who thought a Marvel centric hero shooter from NetEase was going to be actually very good? And in a lot of ways, I was surprised because it to me feels like the early days of Overwatch.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
It feels that fun and that solid. It's 6v6, which I fucking love. The characters feel great. They look great. The art style is great. The dialogue is cringy as fuck. So if you can get past that, you'll be fine.
I think the dialogue is perfect for what it is.
But I thought because I knew this game was coming out for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think at best I expected it to be okay. Probably wasn't going to be anything crazy. Boy, was I wrong, because it's putting up.
Asked me, Nick. I alpha tested this one.
It's putting up better numbers than Overwatch, on like Twitch and everything.
Yeah, because it's really fucking good.
It is really fucking good, and I think my Steam profile says like 50 hours into it so far this year, or
damn,
whatever.
How much do I have actually?
Marvel. Yeah, I have 49.3 hours.
20 hours, and then I have 4 hours in the playtest.
Yeah. I've played a lot of this because Moon Knight's in it, and I love Moon Knight. He's my favorite Marvel character.
The Moon.
The Moon. So I've started because I'll have some I'm decent with Moon Knight. I'll have some really really good games where I'll get like 50+ kills, and like I'll just go in the game chat and be like, "Y'all just got mooned," and just fucking just be stupid about it.
I'm an Iron Man main, so
I hate you, actually.
Yeah, I know. Jarvis, please clean my pants.
Yeah, no, Jarvis, shit this guy's pants. And so far the support for the game has been very good. We're getting a lot of new characters very quickly, quicker than I feel like most other games. Hopefully that doesn't come to bite them in the ass. All the characters are free. Mm-hmm. My one gripe though, in terms of character stuff, is that you don't have to buy it. I understand that completely. Skins cost way too much fucking money. The one Moon Knight skin for the Lunar New Year was $20. Way too much for a skin. The Battle Pass, though, by comparison, very cheap. It's like $5, and you can basically complete it at your own leisure. So if you're familiar with like Fortnite's Battle Pass, like you have the Battle Pass for that certain amount of days. If you don't unlock the things that are in the Battle Pass, oh well, sorry, try again next time. Whereas with Marvel Rivals, you can basically, even if they've moved on to the next season, you can still work on that past Battle Pass, which I think is it's weird. They do very consumer friendly things and very anti-consumer things in the same game. But no, I was like I said, I was very shocked that this turned out to be good, and like I said, in a year where this genre hasn't been treated so kind, it was good to see that this was a breakout hit, and I like it a lot. So that's why I think it should be on the best surprises.
No, I think you're right. I think looking at Concord and then looking at Marvel Rivals, it's night and day difference, and
for sure.
You know, you have all those people being like, yeah, well, Concord only failed because it's a hero shooter in an oversaturated market. And then Marvel Rivals released almost immediately after people said that shit. And it's like, now, you wanna say that again?
I will say, there is a caveat to that, right? Because you're releasing a hero shooter with a completely new everything, right? Characters are unknown. There's a lot of unknown about it, right? You also then release a Marvel-themed hero shooter, and you're like, all right, well, I already have a connection to this game because I might have a certain favorite Marvel character. So that might already entice you to play it. But also, it's free to play. It was built to be free to play, and it's just a lot more approachable than spending $60 or whatever on Conquered, right? Was too. So, even if you wanted to try Conquered out, the price of a retail version was kind of scaring people away.
I know you're tiptoeing around it. But let's just go ahead and I'm taking it out, whipping it out, and dropping it right on the table. Concord is not nice to look at. It was never nice to look at. It was never going to be designed to be something that would be appealing to look at.
The animations feel very uncanny. And
looking at Marvel Rivals compared to what we got with Concord.
Yeah.
Again, there's a very, very, very key difference in what
Also,
happened.
Nobody at that developer understands what color theory is and what colors look good together.
No, because they all looked like a fucking circa PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 brown and gray model for every character in Concord. And it was just, no. It just was bad.
So, but yeah, no. So, big fan of that. Happy that it didn't just roll out and die. I'm happy that it's still going strong. I still play it, like I said, pretty much every day. So
yeah, I do too. Whenever someone's on to play it, that's a game that I don't really like playing by myself because it can be hell.
I just when I'm playing by myself, I'll be toxic to people if they start to say shit to me. I'll be like, "Pipe down, Pipsqueak," and they're like, "What?" It's pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what are we feeling about this list, gentlemen?
I will say the only thing I feel very strongly about is I think Famicom Detective Club should be in the final 3.
Okay.
Because I think out of all of these, I think it does actually legitimately hit the key boxes for best surprise. Like it is truly a surprise.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
I agree too. I'm feeling personally, we already got Famicom up here, but other than that, my 3 picks are Silent Hill 2 Remake, Helldivers 2, and Marvel Rivals. Obviously, we could drop any of these. I prefer not to drop Silent Hill 2 Remake, but I don't know. Still Wasted Deep is a great game. It's more of a surprise because I heard no one talking about it, and it's definitely up everyone's alley. Res the Ronin obviously dropped it as well. That game surprised me when I realized what the fuck it wanted to actually be, and I don't know. TCG Card Simulator surprised me with the amount of people that were playing it. So they're just kind of filler on here, but I wanted to put them in so I could talk about them because I didn't really have any other places I could talk about them on this list with some of them, so I wanted to throw it on here. Okay. I think Helldivers 2 deserves to be on this because I think Helldivers 2 exploding as much as it did for 2 months before Sony fucked it all up was a huge surprise because no one was looking at this game fondly before release.
Not even
at
Sony.
All. Yeah, not even Sony. So I think Helldivers 2 deserves to be on this list. And you know what, Nick? I think you convinced me. I think Marvel Rivals also deserves to be on the list.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with those 2 going up there as well.
So would we all be in agreement that top 3 would be Famicom, Helldivers, and Marvel?
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
I would say Famicom probably takes number 1. And my theory behind that, Brandon, because I know you're probably
go for it.
You probably be more akin to say Helldivers.
Kind
over
of.
that.
Go on.
I think while Helldivers was a surprise in the sense that it was captivating people for a very long time, and it kind of came out of left field. Even though people knew what Helldivers was, there was a Helldivers 1, and it already kind of had a fan base. Obviously, 2 was a complete change in direction from 1. I think the grip that Famicom had on people for that day or so, before when they put out the teaser of whatever the fuck it was, everybody was freaking the fuck out. They're like, "What is going on?"
Yeah, no, I agree. I actually was going to say, I think Famicom Detective Club does deserve.
I'll save my breath
in this as well. I don't really think you need to tell me anymore because there's other reasons why as well. This is a game sequel to a game that was only in Japan until very recently.
Yeah.
And then it got brought over to the US and translated into English, and then it got a sequel almost immediately after. So
it's like us getting like a new Viv ribbon in 2024.
Insane. That's insane.
And also too, even for what it's worth, like those remakes, at least as far as I can tell, didn't sell like astronomically. Like, well, it sold reasonable, I guess, but not anything that's like, oh yeah, we're definitely greenlighting a sequel to this. Like, that just kind of just came out of nowhere. Like nobody saw it ever. Like, and I would have expected it to be one and done. I mean, also plus, who names it a brand new Switch game, Famicom Detective Club? Like, yeah, like it's wild.
Yeah.
But I agree. I it definitely is my top choice in this category if it wasn't obvious from what I said. But
no, I agree. I think you got it. You got it right there.
All right. So best surprise goes to Famicom Detective Club with or MEO the Smiling Man, rest part of that. Along with Helldivers 2 and Marvel Rivals as runners up. So there we are. That's that category. Hey guys, that is the end of day one, Game of the Year 2024. Thank you all for listening. We always appreciate you guys listening to us every week, and especially for fun things like Game of the Year. You know, if you want to listen to our episodes, you know where they are. You can find them on iTunes, Stitcher, Google, Amazon, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. We also have all of our episodes available on game-crunch.com. And if you want to send us an email for feedback, gamecrunchcast@gmail.com. Stay tuned during the week. We have more categories to release over the next few days until we eventually get to our ultimate episode with Game of the Year. And from Brandon, Nick, and myself, thank you all for listening. And until next episode, game on.
In the night, the screens are glowing, voices whisper, stories flowing. Game of the Year, who shall win? Let the guessing games begin. Tensions rise as votes are counting, anticipation all surmounted. Players' dreams on the line, let the reason steep incline. Oh, can you see it? The crown's within your reach. Oh, will you be it? The one they'll talk and preach. Game of the Year. The prize is almost here. Game of the Year. This moment crystal clear. Behind the scenes, the arguments, streams of data, evidence, critics' marks, score by score, who will stand and roar. Every click, every tap, the weight of every map, hopes and fears entwined as they watch the time. Whispers fill the air around, who will wear the golden crown? Excitement at its peak, with each game critique. Oh, can you see it? The crown's within your reach. Oh, will you be it? The one they'll talk and preach. Game of the Year. The prize is almost here. Game of the Year. This moment crystal clear. Behind the scenes, the arguments, streams of data, evidence, critics' marks, score by score, who will stand and roar, roar. In the night, the screens are glowing, voices whisper, stories flowing. Game of the Year, who shall win? Let the guessing games begin. Game of the Year. This moment crystal clear. Behind the scenes, the arguments, streams of data, evidence, critics' marks, Score by score, who will stand and roar?
Hello.
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 Howdy.
What's going on?
Not much. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Nothing too wild on my end of things.
Yeah.
How was
I had-
Mag Fest?
It was great. I got a little bit of like a touch of something post, and like I was really stuffy like the last 2 days. I'm still kind of getting over it, but I was like, oh, I hope I'm not like all fucking boogered up for recording this. But I'm feeling a bit better now. But no, it was a good time.